I convene a special meeting for the town budget, tentative budget. If you'll join me for the pledge. You go again?
Yeah.
I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so we are presented with draft 2 of the budget from last week, and decided to have a meeting, see if there are any questions going forward with it. The department heads had come together and told us the requests, and now let's have a discussion about where we're gonna go with it. Pretty much start from, the only things that changed from justice is we had to put $1,200 on there for a robe and training for a new judge.
Just a question. It looks like the total amount under A1110.1 personal services, it looks like that's more than what the court had requested. And the overall total number of 148,415 is more than what the court had requested. So my question is, why is that more than what they're requesting?
I don't know if it's in there, but court clerk Heather Collins is getting a $1 raise as an employee, so that should be in there.
I would assume that that was in this sheet.
So it looks like it's $2,000, and that would reflect a $1 increase. Oh, because also there's a negotiation kind of, so we don't really know exactly what it's going to be, so we're just estimating in the budget lines.
Okay. Yeah, I was just wondering why the amount was more than what they were requesting, but that makes sense then.
There's a little wiggle room for negotiation.
Sure. Yeah.
Another thing that had changed is an added $1,000 for our accountant, Sarah Morrison, up from 13 to 14.
I thought that was a good addition. After talking to Regina, I feel like, you know, we rely on Sarah a lot just for bookkeeping and what she does.
Yeah, worth the people.
Yeah.
For sure.
Also, to supervisor, and I'm not sure, you know, how it's taken out, but, you know, I know traditionally deputy supervisor has been paid $3,500 as the job. Last year, I chose to do the job without any pay, and I don't think from here on out, it's my personal opinion, I don't think it should get pay.
It's not in there.
But it's not in there, right? I just want to make sure.
The raise reflects the secretary raise, who's
Right.
also employee, in a floater. And to compensate for the floater, we took a floater off of finance, so you'll notice that finance dropped from 62 to 59.
Okay.
To balance it out. Excuse me.
So the supervisor budget for A1220.1 personal services reflects additional money for the confidential secretary?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, and that is, how much is that?
$1.
That's $1 an hour?
No, it's $1 raise.
Yeah, $1 an hour.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so that would be a $2,000 increase.
Correct, and the floater that we put in. Any more questions on page 1?
I think so.
So, Mike, you were just saying that you don't think that there should be a pay for the deputy
I
supervisor
mean,
position.
again, I can't speak for past deputy supervisors, but I know, you know, as like, what's the job of a deputy supervisor? I mean, to be in touch with supervisor, and if he needs anything, sort of delegate that. And I feel like I've done that somewhat. You know, I've taken the next step to try to, you know, get everybody on the same page and talk to, you know, different entities out there on behalf of supervisor, which hasn't been that much, to be honest. And while it is a little more work, I feel like you just do it because, you chose to be deputy supervisor. And I don't think it really merits $3,500. And also too, as far as like taking over in case Mr. Donnelly's out, I mean, if he's out for a long illness or something happens to him, I mean, as a board, we can decide on additional pay if there's like a month where I have to take over. But for the most part, day to day, I feel like it doesn't merit the $3,500, in my opinion.
Yeah. I've seen it as high as 7,000 just for your.
And I think that's ridiculous, but that's my own opinion.
Yep.
Thanks,
Okay.
Mike. Thank you.
Bless you.
Okay, so, tax collection, Candace went through, assessor, we went through. The town clerk, 1410.1 reflects $1 for employee and, none for elected officials. Is kind of how this budget was laid out. Elected officials wouldn't be receiving any raises, just employees and contractual union.
So the $1 an hour would be for Cheryl,
Right,
deputy
that's
clerk.
from the 98,498 to 103,18.
I would like to clarify that last year in the organizational, there was a clerical error that paid Cheryl $1 extra on paper, but not actual on her check. And when it was found, no one addressed it. They simply said it was clerical. And they reached out to her to get her feel on it, and no one has responded about it since. So out of fairness, I think Cheryl should have $2 raised, because she made $23.90 this year. The resolution said $24.90. And really, in effect, she should make equal, if not more, than the secretary to the supervisor. And right now, she currently makes a little less. So I would like you to reconsider and give Cheryl a $2 raise.
Thank you for advocating for your deputy. Bless you.
Thank you.
So you're saying on her paycheck, even though it was stated she never got the $1 from last year?
In the organizational meeting, every single person's pay rate is reflected.
Right.
Okay. Her pay rate was supposed to be $23.90. In the resolution, it said $24.90. She was still paid $23.
Right.
But when we caught that and brought it to everyone's attention, which I did send it to all of you a few times, the lawyer called to see if he could smooth it over and take care of it. And he said he would be reaching out to her again, and he never has. So at this point, I feel as though she does deserve the $2 an hour, and she should be making more than the secretary, as far as I'm concerned, for what she does.
And how did payroll react?
They said it was clerical.
That was the response?
So all year she hasn't been paid the additional hour.
Correct. So this all year, she's only been paid $23.90, but there is a resolution stating she's been supposed to make $24.90 for the entire year.
So in reality, she could go after us for an entire year's worth of retro right now,
could.
based upon that.
And at the time I mentioned it, I thought it would be fair to retroactively pay her for that part of the year that she missed that $1 and then continue with her 24. But it was pushed aside like many things have been.
So I think I think it's gonna be resolved somehow, that that's corrected, as soon as possible, and then, then the raise be reflected as $1 per hour based upon the organizational meeting.
Right.
Right.
I'll have to look into that for sure.
So it
So
sounds like,
some type of resolution should be made to the error,
Right.
whether that's be, immediate, retro pay, from January to now that she should have been getting and nobody's followed up on.
Right.
Or somehow get this, worked out, and that the lawyer should be talking to Cheryl or the supervisor's office somehow to get this sorted out.
She does a good job and she deserves it. And should definitely be making a higher rate
Right.
and deserves answers.
Sure, we'll look into it
so
for
we'll
sure.
reach it out to payroll and legal, it
I
sounds
think
like?
so. That's a good start.
It sounds like, if
We'll
you've sent
loop
us
the
some
board
stuff
in.
and we've not acted on it, and nobody's acted on
Essentially,
it.
this is from the organizational meeting.
Right, and I think we brought it to attention in March that we realized it. And it's fallen to the wayside. And it has been brought up a few times and it keeps getting pushed away.
If we haven't acted on it, then it's our fault.
Discouraging.
We should be compensating her and paying that retro back, and then she should be,
I mean, it was
the
originally
dollar should be
acknowledged.
based upon the organization meeting.
Which was, not very nice. I don't feel as though it makes it look like you're really taking care of your employees when you kind of push something like that aside. So,
So we'll talk to Linda Ziegler about that in payroll, make sure she's up on it in the future.
but again, the $2 raise is not Linda's decision, it's yours.
No, sure.
Well, I think the correction needs to be made immediately based upon what the
Yeah.
organizational meeting is, and that the salary should be corrected on that now. If any retroactive pay needs to be compensated for to date now, and then the dollar an hour raise reflected based upon the corrected salary, based upon what the organizational meeting stated back on January 1. That's how it should be addressed, and it should have been addressed if you brought this to our attention, as you did in March, and it wasn't acted on in March, and we're negligent in that.
Thank you.
We should definitely have executive session next Thursday to discuss this.
Yeah, we'll talk to people, get some facts, and see what we can come up with.
And human resources, 1430.1. That also increased $1 for Linda Ziegler. Any further discussion on
That's
page?
only $1,000, she's part-time, right, so that's only $1,000 there?
Correct. Any further discussion?
Just to go back, you didn't mention the attorney fund. So the 2025 adopted budget is $80,000, the 2026 tentative budget is $80,000. I don't think that, we should be spending that much money, in attorney's fees, but that's just my own personal opinion. But given the situation that we're in, and given that, I think Supervisor, you alluded to at some point in time that regular legal fees for a regular year would be between $50,000 and $100,000. What is our plan in the event that next year's legal bills continue at the same rate as they are now?
Well, as any town would, we would hope that we don't have to defend ourselves against being sued.
We haven't defended ourselves at all this year.
Yes, we did. We were sued for attorney's fees, and it was probably in the same post that you read where I said from 50 to 100,000.
We were sued for attorney's fees this year or in 2024?
I believe it was 2025. I could go in and pull it for you.
Okay, that'd be great. I would appreciate that. But again, I think we should have some discussion as to what we're gonna do in the event that these legal fees continue on at the rate in which they're going currently.
Well, there's 80,000 budgeted for legal fees.
And as the chief fiscal officer, you think that that's sufficient?
I do. I think hopefully that there isn't another spike in lawsuits, either from the town or towards the town, as has been in the past. And generally speaking, attorney's fees, specifically with agendas and resolutions, that is monthly. That's our $27.70 that we pay for general counsel. So that's included if you go through the attorney's vouchers where they break it down hour by hour. It always reads zero for preparation for town meetings, preparations for things that have the agendas and the resolutions, and we absolutely would want you would want your legal department to review resolutions, because we do, the chief sends them to us and we send them to our legal service.
Yeah, again, I'm not
So
trying to
they
get
can-
into the details about that. I'm just saying that I know right now that we're over what we budgeted for 2025, and I'm just concerned that if we budget the same amount for 2026, we're going to be over considerably again based upon the trend. So if you feel confident that, you know, it was because we were sued for attorney's fees and you don't expect anything out of the ordinary to pop up in 2026, then, you know.
Well, you can prepare for it as much as you can.
Yeah, again, I think it's
That's
tough,
why
right? I mean, I
they-
think it depends on what the town board does as well. I mean, you know, depending on what you do, certain things come up and, you know, they take lawyer fees. Like, I know the whole grant thing, the CBG grant, like that probably took tens of thousands of dollars in lawyers' fees. It's such a big, project and a big event, but you hope you don't have something that big next year, if you could help it. And I think that would keep it down too. So again, it's hard to say like we will or won't use it, but I think it's gonna be cognizant of it. I think it's better to keep 80 in there and try to, you know, tame it a little bit than it is to put less in there and be like, oh, we cut ourselves short.
It could go under too, because we're no longer searching for town offices, so we don't have to have any closing costs like we did before. We are pretty much done with grant season until next year, depending on what else we have to reach out for. I am having LaBerge kind of reach out for the DASNY grant, the sidewalks.
Yeah.
So now that the bigger grants that were complete, we're done with those. We're going to secure that $150,000 to do the sidewalks in front of Silver Spoon.
Yeah, right.
Sort of going from Mountain as far as we can to the
Town offices.
the intersection.
Yes, right.
So we are projecting to hopefully be under 80,000, and that would be great to get it back down to 54, as long as no very large legal projects come before us. And like I said, 2025 was huge. We had a lot of grants, a lot of property purchases, a lot of engineering. We got the construction companies done. They're just finalizing all of that. As a matter of fact, the letter to proceed is probably going to be tomorrow or Wednesday, so that AOW can go in there. So that those legal fees will be off the table. So once the projects are completed, and then it's just general counsel, hopefully we'll be running very smoothly and very cheaply.
Okay.
Engineering see the same. The only thing that changed on page 3 is town hall, up from 95,000 to 100,000 to cover the moving costs for the Mountain Road Extension offices to go into the new offices on 9W, and also for cameras and IT and mail and et cetera.
Records management, what was that increase there?
Was that for the laser fiche?
Laser fiche.
Yeah.
Yep.
So. And everything else stayed the same. Only change on page 4 is insurance. Insurance went up across the board. Association dues went down. Because our population went down a bit. Contingency, we kept at 120. Anything else? Oh, okay, so this particular budget has, you can see an increase for the chief. I think it was suggested at 2%, so that would be around $2,000 for wage increase. Personal services includes the second sergeant, full-time with benefits, so that was a substantial increase. This budget also reflects no vehicles, and point 4, near map is on there, that's why it went from 79 to 86.
Just to go back to communications tower, this shows a $29,500 increase under contractual from 2024. There was nothing for 2025, and in 2026 there's $30,000, unless there's a number missing for 2025.
Honestly, I have to go back and look at that one.
It was zero on the feedback,
It was zero. So
500 in 2024.
that's $29,500 more than it was in 2024.
All right, I'll have to look that one up for you, Steve.
Yeah, if you could get me that information ASAP, that would be great. I know there's sometimes we talk about getting information and I don't get it even after we talk about it, but I'll be better about following up with you as well.
Okay. Dog control on page 6, we added 500 from Minnie Lauren. She hasn't had an increase in a while. And it was proposed that she has an increase.
Do we know how many hours a week or a month she works?
We don't, but what I have from information I have from the dog control officer is that that she uses she runs around with. There's a dog there right now. There has been a question about increasing. We don't actually have dog control facilities, so there was a request to improve that, but we actually have to. I'm not sure if we can. We have the facilities to do that, so we will either reach out to Greene County or the nearest dog shelter to see how we are going to approach that in this office in general, because they do get stray dogs there. And we can have a payroll get you her timesheet.
I don't necessarily need her timesheet, I just, on average, is she working, 10 hours a week? Is she working 20 hours a week? Is she considered part-time?
Based on need.
Right. Like, is it like the social worker,
Right.
On an as-needed basis, or
Yeah.
is there some other more commitment that we have to her?
Okay, for civil defense, we were considering removing code red. Dominic Bruno stopped into my office today and said it's a very valuable piece of equipment for his department, what they do, especially 144 in the AL code. So based on his expertise, I would like to have a conversation about that, because I would like to. The reason that we wanted to cut it is there's very few, and I'm talking single-digit town residents that use it, but the majority of village users use it. So I would kind of want to have a conversation with the village to see if there could be some sort of a percentage with that.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that's only fair.
I also think we gotta promote it too.
Yeah.
We don't do anything to promote it, that it's out there. Yeah, I think that, somehow we have to promote that we have this service, that the town residents can all use, whether it be, somehow up there on the, I don't know, just in some type of, monthly thing, a mailer. I don't know how to do it, whether the fire department's gonna help out in that respect, or, the certain festivals and certain things that are in town, that we have a booth that, hey, sign up, just drop by, sign up for it.
Because that's the half the battle, right? Signing up and then something happens and an alert goes out. Is that?
We spent the money, but I don't think we really did our due diligence either to even get any out there somehow, but I think it's a useful tool, and I hate to see it get cut without, actually consulting with the emergency management team in this town and how they feel the value of it is.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think it's a cost and benefit. You got to see if we can get more enrollment, and if we can, great. If not, then you make a decision based on that.
Definitely worth further conversation.
We have a contract, right? Is the contract up this year?
It is this year.
Okay.
It's still the same amount of money for 3,000? Yes.
5,000.
It's 5, right?
5,000. Well, most people are using it.
So there was a change in paramedics for the Ravena Rescue Squad and the Albany County Sheriff's paramedics. Their price just went up, so that's why the increase from 506 to 513.
What about, the line above it, mandatory testing? $150? What is that
Yeah,
for?
that's Dan and Mike Furrow. Well, highway, I guess you would say. And conversely, on 5010.1, that's $1. That reflects $1 to Mike Ferrero, sorry. And contractual on 5132.4, that reflects the $10,000 overhead door and near mat.
Should we put a little cushion in personal services for highway, because they're part of the contract negotiations as well? That we put the cushion in for,
Didn't Dan say that? Didn't he, in one of his lines, didn't he say he's like, I'm putting that in there because we're expecting negotiations?
I thought
Or
it was
is that-
overtime,
or
I'm
is-
not sure about
Oh.
negotiations.
Okay,
5010 is administrative. It's Dan and Mike.
right.
oh, okay,
So maybe it's somewhere.
It is.
I'm getting ahead of myself now.
Okay. Page 8, parks. We took off, there's a change from 7110.2 equipment from 13,000 to 3,000 because we took off for the lawnmower purchase. We went back and looked at the purchase from October 2024 of a lawnmower and then April of 2025. And we think we can, it's basically a trade-off for the door.
So you had 13,000 in there for a new tractor, but since you've bought one in October of
Oh,
24 and one in April, 6 months ago, we're assuming that, keep those running. There's some money in there to fix them if they need to be fixed, but that $10,000 will go towards the garage door that he wants for the highway department.
Are you guys, is someone gonna have a conversation with all of the department heads to kind of bring them up to speed with regards to these thoughts? Or is it just gonna be a surprise, like, the tentative budget's filed and this is what it is, and
Well, they come in with their requests and then we discuss it. It's just.
No, I know, so we're just
Yeah, we
requesting
will-
it now, but I just mean like before the tentative budget is
Yeah.
filed, do we
The-
plan on having
yeah.
a conversation? Okay.
That's why we did this over the weekend. We planned it for Monday because we need that cushion to get it to clerk's office by the 22nd, so they have time for our 25th meeting, and then, there's plenty of time and we're not rushing. All right, nothing else on that page changed. Change on page 9 is you'll see leachate, 8090.2, 25,000 in 2024. We dropped it down to 2015, we dropped it to 15,000 in last year, but that budget line has never been touched, so we took it off.
So throughout the years, Regina looked at it, and it's always had a budget of $25,000 or $15,000, and it's never been used.
I think it's always been around 25.
Yeah.
And we loaded it to 15 because this year,
Yeah.
and we wanted to see what that money was going to, and it doesn't go anywhere.
We should ask Keith, like,
Yeah.
why that money has been budgeted all along and it's never been used.
That's a great question. And the other change is cemeteries down here. We put that 5,000 in for what we talked about earlier with Mr. Blaisdell to upkeep the cemetery stones. Employee benefits, you can see that they went up across the board. That was insurance, health, life, dental, all increased.
So 2025, like health insurance, 2025, 217,000, and we're looking at 2026, 300, almost 29,000. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's nothing we can control. They just tell us this, these are your prices, and you just got to pay them, right?
Premiums went up, yeah.
Just
That's what people want John's insurance.
yeah, right.
So page 11, the estimated revenues, we can keep a 0% increase on the tax levy at $1,715,800 with what we're proposing, the expenditures that we're proposing. The other change is the interest from 2024 from $2,200 up to $120,000. We're estimating that at $130,000. And that sort of gives us a cushion because it's kind of trending towards $150,000, but we once again, with some of the things that we're going to be discussing and changing, specifically the code red, if we're bringing it back, the money has to come from somewhere. So that's where we're looking at with the revenues.
And that would be with, taking $232,076.80 from fund balance.
No, that is the appropriated fund balance. 232,000.
I know, but if it's a revenue, and then we haven't had that in the 2024 or 2025 adopted budget, to me, this reads that we're taking $232,076.80 from fund balance in order to balance this budget, or the general A fund portion of it. Am I reading that wrong? Am I misunderstanding something? Because if you take that $232,076.80 out, like it hasn't been in 2024 and 2025, you're going to be that much short. Are you not sure of that, or?
My understanding of appropriated fund balance is that's the fund balance that we have, that we keep that budget line. It's the 2 months that keeps that running. For instance, like SS fund balance, we know is at 435 around there dollars, but it takes 500,000 that we estimate for it to run every 2 months. You want to keep a 2-month reserve. So that if there's an issue, there's money there to be spent.
Yeah, I see it as a revenue. I see it as a deposit in order to balance the budget. So if we could just get clarification on that.
Page 12, we have so the mortgage tax went from 100,000 to 85,000 because it came in at 2024 at 85,000. So we put it the same at 85,000 because that's the way it's trending.
So over the last couple of years, it's trended down,
Yeah,
or it was just overinflated.
it was a bit over anticipated, but no harm, no foul. So we're just keeping an eye on it. Okay.
What is this state aid other TMA 1944 A 3089?
What came in. I believe that may be, I just got this check. It may be the $2,000 for the youth employment that came in. I could be wrong, I'll have to double check with you.
Yeah, because the youth program is A3820, and that's $2,000, and that was adopted in 2024, but not in 2025. And it doesn't look like there's anything in 2026 either, so.
Yeah, it may have been moved because that check just came in today,
I have
the
a question.
$2,000.
Yeah. Is that from the county or is it federal? Is it
That's-
state?
No, it's from the county, and there was an odd, I'm not gonna call it a discrepancy, but I went in and I had to go, sign this for this $2,000, but there's another contract that is exactly the same for a youth program from Albany County, but it's for $3,000. I checked with payroll, I checked with the business office, and we're looking into it with Sarah, what that is, that
Right.
$3,000, because it never came in before.
Right, and we should get more than two. We really should, as a town.
I think that's the max for youth,
For
that
for the
particular
youth? Was it
program.
really for summer?
Yep.
Wow.
So once we get a little bit of clarification,
Yeah.
on that $3,000 one, but as far as, do you know anything
Well,
about?
I know they're always behind in their contract, so maybe the contract that you're looking at was from the previous year and never signed and turned in. Because
It
you
is
can't get paid till you have a signed contract with them. So
Right.
it's counting. So there could be, because they wouldn't, they're not gonna bang on your door and say, we owe you money.
Well, yeah, and there were three of them. There was the youth program for 2, the youth program for 3, and then there was the contract for the $15,000 for the Riverfront Park.
Yeah, 3 different, right. I would check with that 3 and see if it is. a
Yeah, we
contract.
are.
Yeah.
We are. I'll absolutely let you know once we get some information, because I'm curious
Just
myself.
surprised we only get 2.
Yeah, no one seems to know what it is. There's nothing from the past that mentions $3,000. Okay, page 13, part 1B, legal services, stay the same, all these lines.
Insurance went up $300 for B 1910.4, right? But
Yeah.
that's nothing you can. Safety inspections.
And then building department, that reflects the dollar for everybody.
So everybody there,
So that's
Looking at the
for Jason, Santi, and
Riley.
Riley. And the $600 for equipment, that's for the,
The desk
The
is
desk.
the only thing.
that he requested.
No changes on 14.
I'm sorry, just to go back to B 3620.4, there's an increase for that contractual line. Is that just, is there a rhyme or reason to that, or is that just to bump it up a little bit?
Is that CSEA coming up maybe? Is that?
I think
Well,
when,
CCA would be personal.
Oh, personal services, right, duh.
yeah, Jason had said that he wanted to give himself a little cushion, I think, at the department head meeting in that contractual. Probably for whatever they need after the move. Page 15, planning board, that increase was the training for Kennery. Stormwater's the same. Benefits, of course, increased.
Wait, where are you?
15,
On the bottom.
Oh, okay.
yeah,
I see.
14, there's no change on
No,
14.
I just want to get, yeah. So Kenry is in there for his training every time he does it. We budgeted for that, right? That's the contractual.
Yeah,
That's the
Okay.
$2,500.
Okay.
I know there was an email that went back and forth with Mr. Kinnery. Can someone reflect my memory? Does he anticipate that being every year, or?
I think so. And I had a long conversation with him. And really because I questioned like, hey, if you have the stuff from the last time, why are you charging so much for new materials? And he pretty much just said, it really depends on, every year should be new for the most part. It depends on what cases we're presented with, what things that he deems and the board also feels that they need more information on and more training with. So he's sort of catering it to the needs of the town of Queens and our planning board and zoning board of appeals. So I think every year will be different. I think every year that will be the price. But I talked to a couple of the members and they find it worthwhile. So I think it's a good training. I think it's specific to us and not just to generalize like at Hudson Valley. So I think it's probably money well spent in my opinion to get that kind of training from Bill.
I agree.
And if it gets to the point where, the planning and zoning board say, it's getting kind of stagnant, then we'll just say, well, maybe we'll bump it down $1,500.
Okay.
But for now, I say keep it.
Okay. Page 16, and part down the estimated revenues. Appropriated fund balance went up. I believe that's because of NICLAS. We increased that around 20,000, 19,000. Everything else looks like it stayed the same. Oh, mobile home permits went down a couple $100.
Yeah, so again, just to go back to my comment from the appropriated fund balance for the A fund, like in the B fund, in 2024 there was a number, 2025 there was a number, 2026 there's a number. And I have to believe that that number is what balances the budget.
Yeah, with the estimate that you're going to need in the fund balance.
Right.
moving forward.
That you're gonna take from. Right.
So DA appropriations, you can see that it went down. It's because we dropped off a couple of bonds. That bond. So that went from 176 to 138.
So we are gonna be purchasing plow truck in 2026.
Mm-hmm.
And isn't there another truck coming, like the F-350 or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Like, didn't Dan put the order in for that as well?
Yeah.
I believe it's a few months ago.
Yeah, we're waiting for the truck. The check is locked away.
Right. That's already paid for. While the check hasn't been issued to
Right.
the company that we bought the pickup truck from, that money is out of this year's budget.
Yes, okay, good.
But in 2026,
The
we're gonna be
270-some
purchasing
thousand.
a plow truck. So,
Yep.
I think we have to somehow reflect or think about how we're gonna pay for that. I would hate for it to be March or April or, September, October, and all of a sudden it's like, all right, now guys, we have a plow truck we gotta pay. I think we should think about that right now. So while we're losing $40,000 in debt service, we have to think about how we're gonna pay that $275,000 purchase.
Yeah.
Because if we don't, again, we're gonna be in a situation where, and it's no secret how I feel about bonds, so.
Yeah, and there's basically we decided that at the beginning of 2024, knowing that we were probably going to have to bond out even a partial amount.
Well, I think we have to figure out, or we have to know what's in fund balance, because I'm never gonna sit at this table and say, well, we'll figure it out then and we'll bond it out. If there's a way to figure out now how we're gonna pay for this truck in 2026, now's the time to do it, so.
You really don't want to deplete your fund balances, though. You want to keep them because they're essentially, in a manner of speaking, like contingency. You want to use it over, contingency you use at the end of the year to cross level. You don't want to really drain funds out of it.
I know,
At
but the purpose of the budget is to think about what we're purchasing or anticipated costs in 2026, and that purchase isn't reflected anywhere in this highway DA appropriations fund. So,
Right,
again,
when we talked about it in 2024, I remember us having this discussion, how would we pay for an almost
and I always said we
300,000?
would budget it. We would take from fund balance, we would budget the money. I never sat at this table and said I would take a bond, or I would be in favor of taking a bond.
Well, as you can see, even $5,000, give or take, affects the entire budget. $300,000.
I know.
Is
But again, I think that's something that we have to strongly think about between now and September 30th.
right. And I hope we've been thinking about it since January. I think it was
Of
January
course.
or February of 2024 when we were talking about it, because
But
some of us were saying maybe we don't need to purchase it, and also, is there a lot of inventory? This is the capital assets. Is there a lot of inventory that's sitting at highway not doing anything? Can we get rid of some of that equipment to make room for the new equipment? So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts, but I'm with you with the bonding out. You don't really want to have too much debt service, but that's what we've been dealing with.
So again, my question, I guess, to you then, Mr. Donnelly, as the Chief Fiscal Officer, is, what is currently in fund balance for DA? And is there anything that we can do to,
DA fund balance is $45,087.81. And you don't want to take any money out of that. Looks like on page 19, everything else, Dan had increased DB 5110.1 just for general repairs, to have a cushion, he had said, and the same for 5112.4. And similarly to 5130 machinery, he just sort of went through and sort of made a cushion. You remember from the meeting, snow removal. Yeah, publicity stayed the same. And benefits increased slightly, $20,000 for DB.
so again, not to be a pain in the butt, but just to go back, so as this budget is right now, if we are removing $40,000 from debt service, and we're not taking into account the purchase of that plow truck, and if the consensus of this town board is to proceed with a bond, how are we going to pay the principal and the interest payments in 2026 with the purchase of this vehicle? So if what you're telling me right now is that we're probably going to have to bond it out, and I'm not so sure on that, but if that were to be the case, and again, I'm not in favor of that, I do think that we have to think about this $40,000 that we're removing from debt service if we're going to bond. Like, do we have any information as to interest rates or, what the payment would be or anything like that?
I imagine that would be included in the contract that Dan Baker sent to us back in 2024.
Well, I don't think the interest rate in
Right.
that's gonna be in it, but
So
as
that's
the chief
something we're
fiscal
gonna have to do.
officer, how are we going to make a principal and an interest payment in 2026 if there's no money budgeted for it?
That conversation will probably come when we have, if and when we bond it out. Once again, that decision in 2024 that Dan presented to us, it's gonna take 2 years for this thing to get to us.
Right, and it sounds like there's been no thought whatsoever about, like, because
Well,
you've removed
The thought at the time,
$40,000 from debt service, and you're not putting anything back into it in the event that we have to bond this truck out. So how are we
the
gonna pay?
debt service payments are complete. I didn't remove them. We completed our obligations.
But they're removed now. We completed our obligations. There's no line item now but you're gonna take that $40,000 and propose to use it somewhere else in order to balance the budget. And my suggestion is that if that's the route that this board is contemplating going, we have to put in the budget for 2026 some sort of payment. Otherwise, we're gonna get the bill for the truck and it's gonna be like, all right, where are we pulling, and we've known about it for 2 years.
The discussion that was had in 2024 was that it was going to be bonded out, and you had stated your opinion that you don't like borrowing money or bonding out things, and the board voted to purchase or get the contract going on this snowplow truck, with the understanding that we were going to bond it out at some point, because $270,000 to $300,000 is not going to be budgeted to buy a purchase that's so large.
Well, then my suggestion is that money be allocated right now before the tentative budget is filed with the town clerk's office to reflect some sort of payment.
Okay.
Otherwise, we're gonna be in a situation where we're gonna have no budgeted money to make a payment.
I wonder too, like, I guess Dan would know, or maybe Regina, but how many more of these ones with bonds, like how long do they have left until they're done?
Yeah, Regina would definitely
She'd
know.
know,
I'm
right?
sure Mr. Baker would know as
Dan would
well.
probably know as well. Yeah, he could look it up. But I'm just curious, because then you look at it and it's like, oh, well, if this $14,000 one comes off, well, that would make up some of it, right? I doubt we'll get that lucky, but you never know. It's worth a question.
Okay. I'll have the email out tomorrow. Page 21, we're on 21. Estimated revenue, DB. It looks as if the, from the $3,500 adopted budget, interest, increased to 14,000. Is the change. It looks like sales tax revenue came in a bit higher too. Around 74.
Well, that would be money that we're allocating from the sales tax. Right?
That would be sales tax revenue, yeah.
Right. But sales tax doesn't automatically go into DB fund. We as a town board and you as the chief fiscal officer designate what kind of money goes where.
Correct, so we're estimating that it's gonna be around $1,084,030. And the same with chips and pave. They came in recently too, so those numbers reflect what they are up to. So for sewer, the .4, 8130 was increased. That reflects near map, and also we had a discussion whether we were going to do UV and round clarifier. So
But we can't take that out of personal services.
no, this is .4.
Oh, I'm sorry.
So the village needs to be apprised of these two. If we want to make those, we had that conversation, do you remember? About possibly doing that this year, UV especially.
Yeah, we talked about whether to repair it.
Yeah, and I think also the shower is in here that Keith was talking about.
And for personal services, Mr. Geraldson is getting $1 an hour.
Correct. That's what, this reflects. benefits went up also, 50,000+, and debt service remained the same. So on page 23, the sewer rents in the town, the price is higher, but that doesn't reflect an increase in the sewer rents. It's more units than last year. We still wanted to keep sewer rents, not raise sewer rents, but we do have to have a discussion of where the funding, how we're going to fill that funding gap. And the village monthly rent, monthly payments went up from, I think, 44,000 to 50. That's reflected by the 523,867 to the 600,000.
So that's a discussion with the village to see what, how much more they're gonna pay in sewer rents, because they have more units?
No, those units are town units.
Yeah,
Oh, I see, okay,
they're in the hamlet.
yes, okay. But, so sewer services village, SS 2374, went from 523,000 to 600,000, right?
That's, yeah, what estimated it.
Okay.
We're estimating it at.
All right.
And as far as there being a gap with regards to the grants and the estimated costs for, from LaBerge for the entire project, there really doesn't have to be a gap. Whatever we get in grants, we spend, and we don't have to spend $1 more, and therefore there is no gap.
We get the grant.
Okay, and Intello estimated at 511 for 2025, and Queens Fire at 592. No change in elected officials on page 25.
Back to the sewer thing, I know that we had spoken way back when about how we as a municipality were significantly under what the national average was when it came to sewer rents. And I know we did a little bit of an increase last year. How close are we to that average now?
I
And I
mean,
know that
we
we did an income survey, we've seen the results of the income survey yet?
yeah, we're still below the average.
So we have wiggle room when it comes to what the average is, across the board, what like other municipalities pay. We are still significantly or not significantly or a little bit or a lot of it under what other municipalities pay proportionately, for sewer rents as a community. Do we know where we're at with that? Or are we, I know it's tough to say the word, pay more money, put more money on people and all that when it comes to our projects and stuff like that, but are we really putting the onus on, the people who use the system? Are we not charging what we should be charging for the services?
Yeah, and it is a larger discussion, the percentage, and you probably got that email today, is that today? Where we have to, the letters that are going out, we do have to have that discussion about the percentages. And that's gonna take a bunch of numbers that we don't have. So we might be using a lot of what they used in the past to get the percentage correct or close to where it should be. As far as we're concerned, I'm sure we all don't want to raise sewer rents. So we're going to have to reach out somehow in some way to pay for this project, hopefully. And when we get to $3.3 million, when we talk about that in the contingency, I'm sure you remember when we talked to Ben God, what was that, January of this year? He had mentioned, or I had read, that EFC requires 30 to 35% contingency. That's a huge number when you start getting into the millions of dollars. So it might, like you say, fall underneath that, and that would be great. That would be great if the estimated $3.3 million project actually turned out to be 1.2.
No, I know what you're saying about, raising stuff and all that, but, if as a consumer, I have no problem paying for a service that I know that I'm going to get and investing in a service that I know that I'm going to get. And I want to just make sure that we are, doing what we can to, as little as we can, and not totally, put a huge burden on that, but we should also be looking at, should we be putting a little bit more of an increase on the people who use the system?
Yeah.
If we've been failing to do so for years, if not decades prior to this, which, has left us shy and, in the upgrade all along, I believe people don't mind paying for a service if they know that the service that they're going to get is properly upkept. As opposed to just saying, hey, just give me this, and just checking on willy-nilly fees for, things that, you say it's just a fee that people, because you can charge a fee. But if you're going to charge somebody to use the sewer system, and that money is strictly for the sewer system, and it's going to be for the use of the sewer system, the upgrade, the maintenance, and service of the system, I think that's a little, that's a little bit easier pill to swallow, knowing that, it's a little bit of an increase. That's my opinion on that. So.
It does make sense to pull some from a little here and from a little there if we can't, because there is no guarantees with grants. So we do have to start coming up with a plan like that. And I'm 100% behind baby steps in smaller amounts, because you really, like you say, you don't want to have sticker shock for residents. But you're correct. We do have to. There does have to be an increase.
Yeah.
Hopefully a small one is how we're approaching this budget.
One of the things that I think would be beneficial for us to have as a board is to know how many residents / customers in the town of Clemens that use the sewer, and how many in the village, especially when it comes to this intermunicipal agreement that we're looking to renegotiate. I know I don't have that number. I would.
The clerk's office.
Let's call my office.
Yeah.
We give that number to Regina in order to figure out what the sewer rents are. I want to say it's somewhere around,
512.
I would say like 518 maybe, but that's with that's including Stonehouse Hill, some vacants, and slightly under 400 or slightly under 500 units that are used. So, but we do have that information in our office.
And I think the village estimated somewhere around, because the numbers vary a bit, around 1,200.
Yeah, I would think they would be, yes.
Right. But there's, where percentages come in is the trunk lines where it runs down from. I had always thought that when it ran behind Seville, that it kept going to the outflow pipe that is on the property that the town owns, that has that trailer on it right across the street from where the Albany County Sheriffs are.
Yeah.
But that's not correct. I went down, and Keith has a huge map on his wall and traced it down. It actually does go over towards the village a bit and then comes back. So especially with the new splash pad and everything, we really do have to get numbers. And the only possible way that I see that happening is with water meters. So,
Well, at least let's start with,
We're not metered,
right, let's start with the number of,
well, there are meters that exist. I
on
actually went,
businesses that they use, but on
No.
residences, we don't. They
yeah, I'm
don't
sorry.
read the meters.
they're not hooked up.
They're not hooked up.
There are some that are on the trunk lines that are not hooked up, but I went and pulled some files from years ago to see why, because I had heard, we had discussions that they were very expensive, so I want to see numbers. So I haven't had a chance to do it this week because it's Monday, but it's on my desk. And as soon as I get the numbers, I'll let you know, because that's how we make decisions.
Exactly, thank you.
So I wrote a few things, again, I wrote a few things down as we were going through, obviously ask this person this, ask this person this. So I say the best course of action is tomorrow, let's, Mr. Donnelly, if you want to, for example, reach out to Dan and say, hey, just so you know, we did this with the 13,000 and it's your garage door, but you can't get a new tractor this year. He's got to wait one more year. you know, stuff like that, just to verify and, you know, either put an email or whatever and send it to us and at least then we know everybody's been contacted and we can move forward.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is this communication tower, why there was nothing in 2025, there was only $500 in 2024, and there's $30,000 now.
I feel like that has something to do with a pilot, but I don't wanna say until I'm 100% sure, so I'll get that information tomorrow. And
Well, this is an expense, this is a contractual
Yeah.
expense.
I know. I'll figure that out. And let you know. Well, did somebody have to go somewhere at 6:15?
I
Two of us have to
Ron
do,
does.
Yeah.
Not the same place, but
Okay, very productive, thank you
Rather go to your
guys.
place.
Make a motion to adjourn the special meeting for the budget.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.